Hi, this is Chris from needlepointers.com with a new tutorial on how to make fabric postcards. Fabric postcards are a fun way to use up some scrap fabric, orphan blocks, and embellishments. I have a few fabric postcards that I've made. These first two postcards I used leftover Valentine fabric I had from a quilt. The one fabric had a print on it with different motifs. I cut out the motifs and then placed them on the postcard. For this, I stitched around the different motifs with a blanket stitch, and I put a zigzag around the edge. This one was made from some leftover half-square triangle blocks I found. I sewed them together and then used a decorative flower stitch from my sewing machine to quilt it. This last one I cut from extra fabric that I had sewn together for a previous project. I then used a decorative star stitch as the quilting between the fabrics and a zigzag over the edge. Fabric postcards are usually made 4 inches by 6 inches, which is the standard size of a postcard. These fabric postcards can be mailed, but the requirements for a postcard that it must be very thin, 0.016 inch thick at most. Most fabric postcards will probably exceed this thickness, so they would require mailing them with letter postage. Fabric postcards also need to be hand stamped because they can get caught in the machines. So you may want to consider mailing them in an envelope that will protect your work. If your postcard in the envelope is heavier than 1 ounce, you will need extra postage. Consult with your local postmaster for recommendations on mailing them. I will show you how I made my fabric postcards. We also have a fabric postcards page full of inspiration and other tutorials on making fabric postcards. I've created this free printable PDF backing that you can use for your postcards. This can be printed on cardstock and then applied to the back of the fabric postcard to give it more support and to give you a place to write your message. If you would like to see a written photo tutorial for this project, get the printable or other supplies needed for this project, please click the link in the description of this video to go to our post for this project. If you prefer an ad-free printable PDF version of this tutorial, it will be available from our Etsy shop through the link in the description. Let's get started on making fabric postcards. What you need to make fabric postcards: fabric scraps, orphan blocks, or other fabrics, a fusible stabilizer like Pellon 808 or 809, but you can use pretty much any fusible stabilizer that you have. I like to use a slightly heavier weight one to give it the fabric more support. Heat and bond light or other double-sided fusible interfacing. The printable postcard template backing. Embellishments like ribbons, bows, buttons, or rickrack is optional. Sewing machine, scissors, and basic sewing supplies. And pinking shears or a rotary cutting blade is also optional. The next step is to assemble some blocks that are 4 by 6 inches. So I found this leftover fabric from a table runner that I had assembled a while back, and I just basically took the leftover pieces and cut them into 4 by 6 blocks across all the fabrics, and I came up with these 2 fabric blocks. Another idea is to use some more of these leftover fabrics I have, and I can arrange them in different ways. So like this time maybe I can arrange it like here, or I can put the yellow in the center. And then I have this strip that's left over also, and I could sew that onto the side in order to make it the 4 inches by 6 inches. For another block, I can use this background fabric again and cut some more motifs out of this to create another postcard that looks similar to this one. And I have all these leftover half triangles and some blocks and some other half triangles that I can probably assemble into a couple more blocks. So just search through all of your fabrics and maybe all your leftovers and see what you can put together. 4 inch by 6 inch is a small size, so you can easily assemble together something to make 4 inches by 6 inches. If you would like to use the fussy cut fabric method, use some heat and bond light to the back of the motif fabric you want to cut out. Then cut out the motifs, remove the heat and bond paper backing from there, and then you can place it onto the 4 by 6 inch piece of background fabric and arrange it and fuse the pieces down. Here are some blocks I have assembled. If necessary, after assembling the blocks, trim them down to be 4 inches by 6 inches. The next step is to quilt the blocks. In order to quilt them, you need some sort of stabilizer on the back. I'm using some leftover scraps of fusible stabilizer that I had. You can use many different types of stabilizer. You just want something that's a little thicker than like a lightweight stabilizer. And using one that's fusible is a lot more convenient. So you fuse the stabilizer to the back, and then you can add quilting to the front of all the postcards. This is a perfect project to try out some of those fancy stitches on your sewing machine. After stitching the quilting, you can also stitch embellishments, ribbons, bows, buttons, or other things onto your postcards. Be creative and try out different techniques and embellishments. I'll be back after I've quilted and added some embellishments to my postcards. So here are my quilted postcards. We added a few embellishments on them, buttons, and some bows, and some fancy stitches. Once you've finished quilting the postcards, the next step is to add the backing. For the backing, you can use another light colored piece of fabric, or you can print onto cardstock our printable postcard back. If you want to use fabric for your backing, I recommend adding a piece of stabilizer to the back of the fabric to give it more stiffness. The cardstock backing doesn't need any more support. Cut a piece of heat and bond 4 inches by 6 inches and fuse it to the back of the cardstock or to the back of the block. Remove the paper backing and then fuse the cardstock and block together. So here are the finished postcards with the backing added to them. As a last step, stitch around the outer edge of the postcard. This will ensure that all of the layers will stay together. You can use a decorative or zigzag stitch. You can also trim around the postcard with pinking shears to add a decorative edge. And here you can see my finished postcards. These three have the pinked edge, and this one I've done a close zigzag stitch, along with this one has a zigzag stitch, and this one has a more of a decorative stitch. So all of these postcards are finished and ready to be given to the recipient. We hope you enjoyed learning how to make fabric postcards. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and share our videos, and if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss future videos. Visit our website, needlepointers.com, for lots of other sewing tutorials and free projects. While you're there, sign up for our free weekly newsletter so you won't miss new tutorials. Happy quilting!